Hello, and thank you for joining us. My name again is Akwesi Opong. This is Sunlight Radio, our show Couples Date Night, and we are also coming to you on our podcast, Enjoy Life with Your Spouse, a live show today on this outlet as well. So we are so happy to have you tonight. We hope that you and your family and your loved ones are all doing well and you're safe and taking very good care of yourselves. As we meet tonight, we continue to share our thoughts and prayers with those who have been impacted in various levels by the current pandemic, and let us continue to pray and lift them all up, that not only us but people everywhere will be well and will recover and will feel better. So thanks again for joining us. Today we have some great discussions on the way. We can't wait to get started, and we will shortly get into the lesson we have today. And as we always say, join us. Send us a text. It's 240-772-1420. That is the phone number to reach us, and we will be very happy to respond to any contributions that you have. Before we get started today, I do have some resource I want to share, and this is something interesting that I found online that I thought might be very helpful, especially this time of the year where we are all thinking of something to do with our spouses. I thought this would be something that we can all think of using as a resource. And the title of this is not my message or lesson for the day. This is just a resource that I want to share. And it's creative things that couples can do. And I'm not going to go through the entire list, but these are just ideas of things that we can do now that, you know, we are all encouraged to stay at home and not spend too much time outside, given the current pandemic conditions. So I'm going to throw out some ideas here. One of them is to turn your living room into an indoor picnic. And you can even do this as an entire family, or if it's just a couple, you can do this as well. Just turn your living room into a place where you can pretend it's summertime and enjoy some time together. You can also cook together. You know, if you are not the one who typically cook in the house, maybe you can come up, you know, together and plan to cook a meal together as a couple or as a family. You know, you can also get a book to read together. This one thing that I absolutely love doing. My wife and I have done this in a while, where we get a book on, or even a blog or something, an audio book on a specific topic. It's always amazing what you can learn in that process. And as you read the book and you know, you come up with ideas to discuss, there's so much insight that you are going to take away with you. So here are some ideas that I want you to consider as we all go through this season. I think that, and I believe that we are all going to come out well and protected, and let's continue to take the steps that we need to take to be safe and also to continue to build our relationships. So again, I want to welcome all of you who are joining us for the first time. My name is Akwesi Opong, and this is Couples Date Night. And we come to you on every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. on Sunlight Radio. We archive this also on our podcast, which is enjoylifewithyourspouse.com. You can go there online and view all the lessons that we share on this platform. So that is where you will find all our resources. So today I have an interesting topic I want to discuss, and it's the title of the message or the discussion today is your wine running out? So I know a lot of you say, what are you talking about? Is your wine running out? Yes, and the purpose of this is not to, tell you to get a bottle of wine and start drinking. That's not the point here. But it's a biblical story that intrigues me so much. And there are some lessons that I want us to draw out of this. And again, I want us to look at all these as the symbols. There's a lot of symbology in this story I'm going to read today for us to discuss. And I want you to look at this from all the symbols. I'm going to go through, read the story, and then we will get into the discussion and take some key lessons out of this today. So this is how the story goes. So it's a very popular reference in Scripture, and I will read it first, and then we will get into the details. So it says, on the third day, a wedding took place in Canaan, in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. Can you imagine Jesus attending your wedding? I was just kind of basting in this. What an experience, having Jesus at your wedding. It will be awesome. It will just be so great, So when the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, they have no wine. And Jesus said to his mother, woman, if somebody calls the mother a woman, it means something else is going to follow. Woman, why do you involve me? Jesus replied, my hour has not yet come. His mother said to the servants, do whatever he tells you. Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, fill the jars with water. So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet. They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had turned into wine. He did not realize where it came from, though the servant who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheap wine after the guests had gone. Have you had too much to drink? Let me take that again. Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests had had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now. This is a story that over the years I keep thinking about, and I keep thinking about, and I keep thinking about. And as I said, we're going to draw some symbols here, and I took some of the lessons here from a resource called BibleSymbols.com, and that's the source of some of the resources I'm going to draw here. So the question I ask myself is that this is a couple who just got married. In fact, their wedding, the third day of their wedding, looks like the wedding went for a number of days. I'm doing a study on Jewish weddings right now, and I can't wait to share some of the facts that I learned with all of you on this station, and also on this blog post. But anyway, on the third day, it says that during the wedding, the wine ran out. In the Hebrew and Greek, the word wine is used to mean various things. It means grape juice, either fermented or unfermented. So it probably could have been wine, but not alcoholic. I think that's not the point here. But the point here that it was some kind of wine. And it's seen as a blessing from God and can be used to mean grapes, juice, new wine. Now the key thing that I found in my research here is that wine can mean truth, joy, and celebration. That's what I want us to focus on. And for the Bible scholars out there, wine means so many different things in the Bible. It could mean judgment, it could mean punishment, all kinds of symbology. But in the context of our discussion today, wine, I want to use the symbology, the symbol as standing for truth, joy, and celebration. So, having established this fact, the question I have is, how come a couple who had just gotten married at their wedding running out of wine, or running out of truth, running out of joy and celebration in their marriage? They haven't even started, and they've already run out of truth, joy, and celebration in their marriage. And you know, they had it good. Jesus was at their wedding. You know, I still can't get over that. You know, having Jesus Christ at your wedding. You know, I keep thinking about this. How do you run out of joy, truth, and celebration at your wedding? You know, so let's look further into this. You know, the master of the banquet asked the groom, he says, everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests had had enough to drink. But you have saved the best till now. So, in essence, he was also saying that usually people's joy in their marriage don't run out that quick. You know, the truth and joy and celebration, that doesn't run out on the third day. Why has your joy and celebration run out? Usually it happens later, you know, but your joy and celebration and truth, which is the symbol of the wine in this instance, is run out already. And, you know, the Bible tells us he didn't get an answer, but, you know, it begs the question, what happened to this couple, you know? Now, another thing that intrigues me, the resource on this is in Matthew 15. I think I didn't quote the reference earlier. But in Matthew 15, it said another thing too that really surprised me. It says that Jesus had told the servants to fill out the ceremonial washing jars, which were used for washing outside of the body, according to the Jewish law. So think of this. Those jars, you know, think of it as the bucket that, you know, those of you who grew up in Ghana or other parts of the world where you went to a boarding school, you had a bucket just for taking a shower. You know, these stone, vessels were only used for storing water for ceremonial cleaning. And sometimes, you know, back then, if somebody travels between two towns, they were usually days, and when they arrived, they had dust on their feet, and before they went into the temple to pray, they used water from these jars to wash their face, their hands, their legs, to make sure that they're clean, or before they entered somebody's house. And it was in these jars that Jesus had commanded them to fill it with water. Now, when they filled it with water, it's interesting because something that was meant for washing outside the body, now out of that was going to come something that was going to go inside the body. It reminds me of a scripture that talks about, it says that it is not what goes into the body that defiles a man, but it's what comes out that defiles a man. So you see here, it's not what was going in them, the new wine that Jesus had miraculously made. It wasn't that. But, you know, what had defiled them, what had brought them to that point of losing their joy, truth, and celebration even before they left their wedding was the fact that something had come out of them. So it had nothing to do with what was going inside them, but it was something that had come out of them. You know, the question that I have for all of you today, and also for myself, is that how do you restore the wine, you know, the blessing, the joy, the truth, the celebration in your marriage? You know, in our culture today, when people have wine, usually it's for celebrating big achievements. Maybe you work in an organization where you just made a big sale, or you got a promotion. You know, at a wedding, even in our weddings today, people propose a toast and they have wine. You know, it's used for celebration, you know, and it's not a good idea when your wine runs out, especially when you need it. You know, especially when you need the truth, you need the joy, you need the truth in your life. and it ran out. So we're going to look at some of the things that we can do to restore these important ingredients that we need in our relationship. The celebration in our marriage. When I talk about celebration, we need to celebrate, and all the things that we celebrate. And again, I said that wine is a symbol here for celebration. So if those things in your life or in your marriage that brings celebration is run out, then something has to be done. The times where you used to laugh and joke, and the times where you did things together, or times when you will spend a lot of time together as a couple. All those were events that you celebrated, and just like this couple, the wine ran out. So if today you're a couple anywhere and the wine has ran out, we all know it's been a very difficult year, but we're getting to a very exciting time of the year because it's Christmas, and it's because it's another year that we've all been blessed with, given all that has happened, and it's a time for celebration. It's a time for us to find something to be happy about. It's time for us to take stock and to see where we are, and to look at the truth in our lives, and to see the joy in our lives as we go into a new year, and also as we remind ourselves of the gift of Jesus Christ as we celebrate Christmas. So I want us to look into this as to what we can do to restore the wine, or to bring up back the happiness and the joy in our relationships. So we're going to take a quick break, and again, my name is Akwesi Opong. This is sunlightradio.com. We have several shows on Sunlight Radio, and we hope that you not only join or be part of this show, but all the other shows we have on Sunlight Radio as well. And as I said earlier, we do have a phone line. You can always send us a text if you want to contribute to what we're discussing today. The phone number is 240-772-1420, and we will be right back. Hello, and thanks for joining us again. My name is Akwesi Opong. This is Couples Date Night on sunlightradio.com, and also we are archiving this show currently on enjoylifewithyourspouse.com, and we are also streaming on Facebook, our Facebook page, which has the same name, enjoylifewithyourspouse.com, or Enjoy Life with Your Spouse. We will be happy to have you join us if you have questions or you want to comment to our show tonight. Our phone number is 240-772-1420. This number accepts text only, and if you have a question, you are welcome to send us a text and we will address that as we go along. And again, thank you so much for making some time in your day to be part of this as we prepare to celebrate the most wonderful time of the year, as a lot of people describe it. Those of you in the Northeast United States, we all had some snow today, and I think those in New York and North had even worse. So I hope you're all home and enjoying some time together as a couple, and hopefully our discussion today will give you something to reflect on and to help you grow and develop in your relationship. So, as we were talking about today, we are looking at some resource from the Bible today in Matthew 15, a story of a young couple who got married, and during their wedding, the Bible tells us that Jesus Christ was invited with his disciples, and also the mother of Jesus was at the wedding, and as we were told, their wine ran out. And we are talking today about, has your wine run out? And I described earlier that, when we refer to wine in this case, we are talking about three important things. The symbol for wine, according to BibleSymbols.com, wine is a symbol for truth, joy, and celebration. So the point we made earlier in our discussion is that this couple had lost the celebration in their marriage. They had lost the joy. They had lost the truth. Even before their wedding was over, they had run out. And, as the story goes, the story tells us that the master of the banquet said that everybody actually brings the cheap wine to the guest first, and then as the day goes on, they bring the quality wine. What that symbolizes in this context is that usually on the third day of the wedding, couples usually don't have problem with celebration and joy and truth, but you seem to have had that issue already. And what is going on? And as we learned from the text, we did not get an answer. But in this case, we want to think about this, that, what causes the joy, celebration and truth to run out in our relationships, or in our marriage. Why do we run out of wine in our relationships? As you know, today when there's any big occasion or celebration, people tend to use wine. So it stands as a symbol for celebrating. And I made a point earlier that this does not give us the license to drink. I guess that's not the point here, but there's a lot of symbols in the Bible, and that's one that we are drawing from today. So what we're going to do for the rest of our time today is to look at, how we can restore the wine, or how we can restore the joy, the blessing, the truth, as this couple had lost it on their wedding. Celebration in your marriage, it's key. There's a lesson that I've prepared. I think I'm going to give you a gist of it today, that every couple should have traditions and that you build around your home, things that you do that help you to celebrate your life as a couple and also your family. What are some of the things that you do to celebrate? I always say that even if you went with the traditional holidays and the traditional celebrations, you'll have so much to do. One thing I like doing is that when it's Christmas time, with all the celebrations and all the things that we do, I like to take some time between maybe Christmas and New Year and go on a date with my wife. because it's a very festive time of the year, and there's a lot of good things going on, and it's always a time to just ride that wind or ride that wave of the celebration, and go on a date night. And I know that we're in a season where going out is not highly recommended, but there is so many other things that you can do. I always say that we can get better at things when we are put to a test. So if you can go out, you can maybe pick up lunch from somewhere and bring it home, and like I said earlier, have a picnic in your living room. You can do something very refreshing. Or we've done this, buy something and even sit in your car and enjoy it. Every date night shouldn't be a 5-star restaurant. You can still do something. As New Year runs around, you can do something for the new year. Maybe you call it like a first date night for the year. And again, a date night shouldn't always be going out or going to buy something. You can spend some time even reading a book together or having a great discussion. And as the year goes through, we have Valentine coming up in February. That's always a great time for couples to do something big. But then there's the rest of the year too, So as we go through, I think right after Valentine somewhere, we have spring break comes around, where if by then things have been lifted, maybe your family could take a trip. But during that time, you could also do something with your spouse, And as we go through the year, we come to maybe the spring starts rolling around, where you probably could find some holidays or some celebrations that could offer you that too. And then we come to summer, where we have July 4th, or depending on part of the world you live in, there is always something coming up that can remind you to not only celebrate the season, but also to celebrate something in your relationship, so that the wine in your relationship will not run out. And again, the symbols for the wine, as we're talking about today, is the joy, the celebration, and the truth in your marriage. So I'm going to go through a couple of things here. There's a resource I found by Les and Leslie Parrott. They're one of my favorite marriage mentors. I use their resource a lot. They talk about some of the things we can do to restore the happiness or the joy or the celebration in our marriage when it begins to fade. And I want to just go through this and look at some of the things they discuss here as to some of the things that we can also do to restore that joy and celebration if we feel like that couple in the Bible, if we're beginning to lose it. The first thing they say is get to know each other again. It could be that this couple had maybe, they had stopped spending time together, so they did not know each other anymore. What do you do to get to know each other more? It's by communicating, by talking, by what my wife and I call checking in with each other. What is really going on today? How is work? What do you think about things going on in our world today? Really get a good temperature of what is really going on with your spouse. And it's important that as we improve our communication and as we talk, we will begin to get to know each other again. I think if those of you who are constant listeners, a few weeks ago I talked about how, it's a mistake for us to think that when we get married we will not change. Change is something that keeps happening, and we go through various changes as we grow and we develop in our relationships. And it's important that we communicate to know where everybody is and not see change as a bad thing. Change could be a good thing. So get to know each other again. Ask questions that will help you know each other. Do things together that will help you to explore each other. Ask questions about, how your spouse grew up. Maybe there's some aspects you've never asked. I remember a few years ago, there's a resource we used from Family Life. I think it was by Dr. Gary Chapman, where it has questions. It's a book that has questions where you ask your spouse, and some of the questions are, tell me about a day when you were in primary school and you had a best day in school. And some of the stories my wife told me, I had never heard them before. I'm like, wow, I did not know this about you. You know, tell me about your favorite teacher in middle school or in secondary school, or, you know, those stories that maybe during your dating or courtship you never had time to address. You know, those are the things that will help you to get to know each other again. You know, the second thing is, be generous with one another. So being generous with one another means that we go a little bit above and beyond. You know, being generous means that you do a little bit more than what you typically do. You know, there's a scripture in the Bible that says that if somebody asks you to go for 1 mile, go 2 miles, you know. And I think that being generous means that we talked about friendship in marriage before, you know, doing those nice things that go above and beyond, you know. It just always warms my heart when sometimes, you know, my wife goes to work and she comes and, you know, we're all busy, but she still finds time to make sure that we've all had something to eat. That's above and beyond. And we always have to make sure that we are more generous. Sometimes your spouse could say something in passing. I heard a story on one resource that we use for marriage mentoring, and it's a couple who, they were driving, and it was summertime, and they passed a fruit stand. You know, when you drive to the countryside or the villages, they have these fruit stands on the side of the road that has fruits and vegetables. And when they passed, the wife said, oh, I like watermelon. And there was a lot of watermelon on the stand. So she just said, I like watermelon. And they drove on. The husband was driving. So down the road, the wife said, didn't you hear what I said? She said, yeah, I heard you. You said you like watermelon. You didn't say I should stop to get you watermelon. Of course, there was a communication breakdown somewhere there. But the point I want to make is that let's go above and beyond. When we know that, you know, your wife or your husband is bidding, is making some bidding or expressing some interest in something, it's always important to lean in and say, you know what, I'll be a little bit generous. Let me stop the car and get us some watermelon. You know, so as that story goes, there was another occasion where they found watermelon, and this man was gracious enough to stop and get some watermelon for his wife. But we have to be generous with one another. We have to do a little bit more that will help deepen our relationship. So, moving right along, what else can we do to restore the wine or the celebration or the joy or the truth in our relationship? You know, we have to spend more time together. And I can't say this enough. Spending more time together is very important. And this is not to say that it takes away your independence or your individuality in your relationship. You know, spending time together, especially when, you know, you're in a relationship where one person works long days and, you know, hardly home, it's important to make that time to spend time together. And there's another thing I want to say when it comes to spending time together. You know, I have often said that it's not just spending time together, but it's what you do when you spend time together. I have always said that going out to watch a movie or watching a movie at home is great, but make sure that it's not the only thing you always do, because usually for couples, that's the easy thing, you know, the low-hanging fruit activity we do when we have some time to spend together. We go watch a movie. But when you go watch a movie, guess what? You are not interacting. You are watching a movie, you know. One way to take it up at next level is, after you watch the movie, don't rush back home. Sit somewhere and talk about the movie. Talk about what you saw, what you learned, what you thought was funny. You know, what part do you want to see again? And, you know, play it back a little bit and, you know, get to have some interaction as a couple. That is one way that when you spend time together, it helps you connect, because we might easily fall into the trap of saying, oh yeah, we spend time together, what did you do? We watch a movie. But after the movie, what did you learn about your spouse? Nothing, because you were both watching a movie. So let's make sure that, yes, you can watch a movie, but make sure that after the movie, you can spend time to talk about it, discuss it, and, draw some lessons from the movie to even apply to your life or to your marriage, One other thing also is activities that when you spend time with, researchers say that when you do adventurous things together, it really bonds the two of you together, And when they say, to me, adventure is maybe going for a long hike or, going for a bike ride, things like that. But if you want to talk about extreme adventure, it's maybe jumping out of a plane with a parachute. Maybe that's extremely, adventurous. But again, that too will be something that will raise up, the high level of adventure. And I'm sure when the two of you land on the ground, you'll have a lot to talk about. So think of things that get your heart racing when you spend time together. And again, in the current conditions, probably won't be a whole lot of things to do, but you can decide to work out together in your home, or maybe dance together. Oh, that would be a good one. Put out some really good music and dance together as a couple. There'll be a lot of laughter in the process, especially if you watch me dance. My wife has always told me I don't know how to dance, but I think I do. Maybe I'll leave you all to judge one day. But in any case, spend time together as a couple is very, very important. I can't say that enough. And even sometimes, spending time together could be exchanging texts during the day. Don't let your text messages during the day between you and your spouse be, has the bills been paid, how are the children, how is work going. It gets to a point that just becomes too ordinary. Let's take it another step up. Send a text and say, I found this quote, I think you will like it. Send a text to your spouse and say, I think this song speaks to me about you or about our relationship. And send a link to a YouTube song that you found that you really liked, So there are so many things that we can do to help us spend time together. So moving it right along, don't be a victim. This is another point by Leslie Parrott as to how we can do to restore happiness and celebration in our relationship. When it says don't be a victim, it means that don't feel that you're the one that every bad thing always happens, or you're the one who's always not getting something in life or in your relationship. When we behave or we play the role of a victim, it takes a lot of joy and happiness from us as an individual. So we should never feel we are a victim, either in life or in our relationship. That will definitely take away the celebration, joy, and truth from our relationship. So let's always feel that we are victors. Let's always feel that we are winning. Let's always feel that life is good and the good things are coming to us. The next thing on our list is we have to exercise forgiveness. I really want to know the story of this couple whose wine ran out on their third wedding day. I don't know what had happened. If maybe they had fought the day before their wedding or on their way to their wedding. I don't know, but something might have happened, and Dr. Leslie Parrott is telling us in their research that one of the things that steal celebration and joy in our relationship is when there's unforgiveness. We have to make sure that we forgive each other. Forgiveness is not easy. It takes effort, it takes willpower, it takes self-control, but we have to decide to do it. And I have said time and over that if we think that it's hard to forgive, let's know that God through Jesus Christ forgave us when the only thing that we have done was sin. But then he looked beyond that and he forgave us. And it's important for us to also learn to forgive anytime that something happens. And I always say that when something happens, try and get over it as quickly as possible, talk over it as quickly as possible, so that you can move on, because those resentments, those emotions of bitterness and unforgiveness and contempt, they hold us back from enjoying and celebrating our relationships. So as we get to the end of the year, as we look into our lives, maybe something happened this year that really set your relationship back or brought unhappiness or bitterness into your relationship. This is a great time for you to look into your life and say, you know what, I'm going to let it go. It's going to be a new year. It's going to be Christmas. Let's celebrate it. Let's look at what is working and let's just move on. You know, let us practice forgiveness. It's going to help us in so many ways to restore what we are missing, the joy and celebration we are missing in our marriage. Forgiveness is key. It's often said that when we forgive, we are not doing it for the person we are forgiving, but you do it for yourself. Somebody once said that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. As you know, it cannot happen that way. You know, the rules of life does not support that. You know, if you drank poison, it's you who will be hurt, not the other person. So forgiveness is key. Let us learn to forgive. It will help us a great deal. So what is next? The next thing on our list is we have to focus on the positive. And you know, right now as we speak, there's so much going on in the world and in our country that can bring so much of negativity and heaviness, and you know, for good reason. You know, a lot of people are having difficult times, those who have lost loved ones, and you know, everything in between that. But the truth is, we can always find something positive going on in our lives and also in the lives of the people around us, and we have to take time to write them. So maybe that's another challenge. You and your spouse can sit down as we approach Christmas next week and write down some of the great things that have happened in your relationship, in your family, in your life this year. I'm sure you'll find a number of them. I'm just going to challenge you to come up with 10 of them. If you can find 10 things that are positive, that are going well, you know, we always tend to forget the good things when one bad thing happens. So let's dig deep into ourselves and look at all the positive things, you know, and say, you know, my spouse and I are healthy. That is a positive one. You know, our children are healthy. Our children are working hard at school. You know, we you can even sit down and think of the great times that you had. Maybe last year you had a wonderful vacation. You can talk about it, because that's a great thing that happened, you know, last year before we all got into this lockdown situation in which we are now, you know. So let's focus on the things that are working, so that it will build up those positive vibes. It will bring up the joy. It will bring up the celebration that we need to further develop our marriages and our relationships. So the last thing on my list here that I want to talk about, and before I do that, I want to let you all know that we do have a phone number, which is 240-772-1420. This is sunlightradio.com, and my name is Akwesi Apong, and we are on our show Couples Date Night. And I think before we go on our last point, we will be right back.
You can dance every dance with the guy who gives you the eye. Let him hold you tight. You can smile every smile for the man who held your hand beneath the pale moonlight. But don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So darling, save the last dance for me. Oh, I know that the music's fine, like sparkling wine. Go and have your fun, laugh and sing. But while we're apart, don't give your heart to anyone. And don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. So, darling, save the last dance for me. Baby, don't you know I love you so? Can't you feel it when we touch? I will never, never let you go. I love you oh so much. You can dance, go and carry on till the night is gone and it's time to go. If he asks if you're all alone, can he walk you home? You must tell him no. 'Cause don't forget who's taking you home and in whose arms you're gonna be. Save the last dance for me.
Hello. Yes, save the last dance for me. I'm sure this long, time of Christmas and celebration we have, the holidays we have coming up, will give you so many opportunities to dance, and of course you save the last dance for your spouse. So thank you so much for joining us. This is Akwasi Opong Couples Date Night on sunlightradio.com, and we are also streaming on our podcast Enjoy Life with Your Spouse, and also on our Facebook page. Thank you. We've been talking today about running out of wine, and again, it's a symbol to talk about the celebration, joy, and truth in your marriage. And we took this lesson from the Bible, Matthew 15, the story of a couple who got married and ran out of wine during their wedding. And we've learned so many lessons from it today that, running out of wine means that the celebration in your marriage is going away, or the joy in your marriage is going. And what can we do to restore it? And we've talked about a number of things, and there's a last point that we want to talk about, and we cannot stress this enough, and I've said this over and over, that one thing, maybe the most important thing that we can do to ensure that we can restore the joy, celebration, and truth in our relationship is to make sure that we seek God and we build on our relationship with God through Jesus Christ, because it's the ultimate. We always talk about the fact that God is a relational God, and if we connect with Him, it helps us to also connect with each other. I have always said that the fruits of the Spirit, joy, love, righteousness, if we live by those, if we follow the fruits of the Spirit, they are all virtues that will improve our relationship. So there's a direct correlation between how we're building our relationship with God and how we are relating with our spouse. So this is something we can all think of. If we're having a hard time in our relationship, maybe we can check our relationship with God. Maybe that is also not going well. So that's maybe something we have to look into, because maybe we are not forgiving enough, maybe we are not being generous enough, or we are not telling the truth, or we are not being transparent. All the virtues the Bible talks about. So it's important for us to make sure that we are working hard in terms of our relationship with God. Where are we in our faith? Maybe it's a time for us to renew our relationship with God and seek more. The Bible says that we should seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all other things, including our relationships, will be given unto us, or will be restored unto us. So as we think of all the things that we can do to restore the joy, the beauty, the love in our relationship, let's know that having a great relationship with God is very important. Even the scientists say this, that the most successful marriages and the most successful relationship has as one of the core things, they have a form of spirituality. That's how they call it, a form of spirituality. So that is your relationship with your God. And if you don't have a relationship with God, maybe that's another thing you have to look into, as to how you're building and strengthening your relationship with God, because that will help you ensure that your relationship with not just your wife, but all the people around you, your children, your people you work with, the people in your community will also be strengthened. So as we go into this wonderful time of the year, let's make sure that we haven't lost that celebration we have. We haven't lost that truth. We haven't lost that joy that we have in our relationship. If we've lost it, we've given you 7 things that you can do that will help you. Number 1 is getting to know each other, being generous with each other, spending more time together. Don't be a victim in your relationship. Make sure that you practice forgiveness, and also be positive in everything that you do. And above all, seek God and make sure that spirituality in your relationship with God is top of the list in your relationship. I hope that you have a wonderful Christmas as we all prepare to celebrate. Do something different this year. I like doing different things, stir it up a little bit. Come up with some new ideas, there's so much that we can still do to celebrate given our current condition. But I tell you, I challenge you all to do something unique. If you're able to do something unique, come back and tell us. You can send us a text message and on our text line and let us know what you did. The number again is 240-772-1420. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so happy we had you, and we look forward to having you again next time. Have a wonderful Christmas, and God bless you all.
But while we're apart, don't give your heart